Welcome back to our third episode of How to Interpret Your Birth Chart. Today we're going to be going over the third house. I'm Chase.
I'm Mary.
I'm Pierre.
And if Mary, if you want to start, that'd be great.
Sure. So the third house, it's ruled by Gemini and it's all about communication. It's how you think, how you learn, how you talk and communicate. So it also rules over your siblings, your extended family members like aunts, uncles, cousins, etc., your neighbors, your neighborhood, and I think that pretty much covers it for the third house. So I believe it's a cadent house, so it's not really like a major area of life. However, if you have planets here, it's definitely going to affect how you think and how you talk and how you communicate. So if you have like Mars here, for example, you can kind of be like an aggressive type of communicator. Same with Mars and Gemini. If you have your sun here, you're probably very witty and you probably need lots of mental stimulation. If you have Mercury here, it's excellent because it rules this house along with the sixth house. So, overall, this area of life is it's how we take in knowledge, whereas the other area of life, or the opposite to the third house, which is the ninth house, is what you do with that knowledge in the world. So the third house is kind of a very foundational house in the natal chart.
What sign rules your third house, Mary?
Mine is Scorpio, and I've got Pluto and Scorpio there at a Gemini degree. So definitely been an intense area of life for me. I've had lots of issues with my siblings. They are just super toxic, and I also deal with issues from neighbors. Like everywhere I live, I have like toxic neighbors, and it's like all Pluto stuff. I also had a lot of fear with communication when I was younger. And yeah, I've noticed like when I speak, people listen, and I have this really powerful way of speaking. But when I was younger, I had no clue. So it was really hard for me to express myself because I'd noticed people would react in such a like weird way to me when I would speak. Like they would take things wrong, and but I also have natal Mercury retrograde, so I've had a lot of struggles with this area of life. But I finally feel like I'm good here now. So, what about you?
For me, I like my third house a lot. It's in Aquarius. It has Psyche in there, part of Fortune. I think one more thing. Psyche, part of Fortune. I know I have Aura there.
I'm trying to think what else you have in Aquarius. Is it another asteroid?
It might be. I'm gonna actually look it up.
Well, what about you, Pierre? What's your third house like?
My third house, I have Libra, and there is Uranus there. So I relate to that. Like when I first really started looking at the astrology, I was like, well, Uranus there makes sense because like I have like a weird voice, and and then I just think in a really different way. Like whenever whenever I look at something, it's never the way anybody else thinks about it. So I don't know. I just have to laugh at that. Um, and I also remember, and this could also be my Mercury trine Pluto. I have kind of like a similar thing as you, Mary, with the Mercury Pluto. But I remember, like, I used to say things and people would just start laughing, and I'm like, "What?
Hmm.
Like, why are you laughing?" And I think they were just shocked, that Uranus, that I would just say something like that. It's just observations. So
That's funny because as a Sagittarius rising with Aquarius on the third house, I feel like I can't say anything without people laughing, like no matter what I'm saying.
I think that's why I like Sag rising
They're
so
so
much.
funny.
It's that Aquarius third house because I'm a Mercury in Aquarius, and then Pierre's got Uranus there, so it's like we're all connected and with the third
Oh
house.
yeah.
yeah,
Very Aquarian third houses.
So I
yeah,
have the Lilith asteroid at 0 degrees.
Ooh, so 1181,
Yeah, that one.
so the actual asteroid.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you could kind of be obsessed with this area of life too.
Also, I'm just rebellious in this area.
Love it, love it. I bet it's hard to I bet you are too, Pierre, with Uranus there.
Uranus there. Um,
Do you like to shock people like with your words?
I don't even think it's a like to. I
Mm.
just say things, you know, like I have like weird like my observations about things are just
It's
different.
unconscious.
Yeah, and so I mean, you know what I did though, because I've gone through a stage where I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna say that because like I'm not some people get their feelings hurt. Like I never try to hurt anybody's feeling. Well, I mean, you know, if somebody drives me too far, then
Right.
Pluto comes out. But um, you know, I was shocked myself when people would seem like, why are you saying stuff like that? No, it's just an observation. But I will say with Uranus, I think, you know, how you were talking about the third house is about, maybe you didn't say it, I don't know, like childhood education. So I did um, skip a grade, you know, and my mom taught me a lot of stuff. And so I know Uranus is sometimes, you know, thought to relate to intelligence and that kind of thing. So there was a lot of that, and maybe on another show, I'll talk to you about like I went back and looked at my progressions, like right around that time. My
Mhm.
Mercury progressed into Aquarius, which is also
Hmm.
the, you know, very intelligent, you know, kind of Mercury. So I thought that that was interesting. That my third house would be ruled by Uranus in that way, or not ruled by, but have Uranus there.
I think I forgot to mention it rules your elementary school, so I'm glad you brought that up. Also, I think that Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, so I feel like this would make you super intelligent in a very non conventional way. So I almost feel like you'd get like sudden epiphanies or you just know things without even knowing how you know with
Yeah.
Uranus there. And so many people think that Mercury is exalted in Virgo, but it's exalted in Aquarius. So
Hmm.
I don't know why there's misinformation out there about it being exalted in Virgo, because if you look at the exalted planets, none of them are exalted in the sign that they rule, which is the whole point of exaltation. So I don't know why Mercury would be the only sign or the only planet that would be exalted in the sign that it rules. So I believe it's exalted in Aquarius. A lot of other astrologers think that too. But if you want to know more about your third house, it's not just what's in the third house. You have to look at Mercury and you have to look at the ruler of the third house. So, whatever sign you have. So, like for you, Pierre, it'd be Venus, right?
Yeah, it's Venus in Aquarius. And now my Venus is also, I don't know if you guys work with combustion. So my Venus is very close to my sun. So supposedly with a combust planet, you know,
What does
it
that
works.
mean?
It means that if a planet is within, I think, 8 degrees of the sun, either side, it's considered combust. And if it's within, it's either 15 degrees or 18 degrees, it's considered under the beams. So, you know, the idea is like, I think at 18 degrees is when it comes out where you're able to actually see it physically. And so that's the point, is that the sun um, kind of burns the planet, you know, because it's so
Hmm.
bright and you can't see it. And so what happens is um, the at least to me, I've been trying to figure it out because what it is the sun kind of absorbs the energy of the planet, and I personally think that the planet kind of acts through the sun at that point, you know, and then the Kazemi. I know that we sort of privately mentioned that recently. The Kazemi is when, well, there's different definitions, but let's just say if it's on the same degree of the sun, then it has special, you know, honors, I guess. And
So Kazimis only apply to the sun?
yes, I mean,
Okay.
because this whole concept is just mainly about the brightness of the sun, um, you know, just kind of overshadowing the planet because you can't see it. But what I've seen, like if you see anybody with a planet next to their sun, they seem like whatever that planet rules. You know what I mean? Like somebody with a sun, Mercury often seems like a Gemini, or,
Hmm.
sun Uranus can often seem like an Aquarius, or, that kind of thing, which I find interesting. I can almost always spot that. But anyway, um, yes, that's a long way
My
around.
sun is within that many degrees of my Mercury.
How many degrees?
My sun's at 6 degrees and my Mercury's at 14.
Hmm. Yeah. They would call it under the beams. I'm still sort of as a practical matter trying to figure it out.
Mm.
My sun is within 5 degrees of my Mercury, so I'm definitely combust or whatever. So
Yeah, so I have learned a lot from Kelly Surtees, Kelly's Astrology. I don't know if you've heard of her, but what she has said about the combustion is that the planet could be challenged, but it's more like, you might do things in a different way, or things might be delayed, kind of like a retrograde planet or something like that. And
So, does this only apply to planets?
well, I that's what I've learned. I
Mm.
haven't studied anything else applying to.
well, I also have my natal Mercury retrograde, so I mean, I feel like it makes me way more introspective, especially when I was younger.
Hmm.
I'd often be thinking things, but I don't say them. And we also learn in a very different way. We have to kind of learn at our own pace, and it's an Aquarius, so I feel like it makes it extra weird. But it's actually my favorite placement in my chart is my Mercury, so I'm pretty happy with it. And yeah.
I'm always jealous of the Mercury Aquarius.
You know what? It's kind of like the only good thing I've got. Everything else kind of sucks. I've got so many things in detriment in my chart. I was like, why does God hate me? so, so I'm like, and then they're trying to say that Mercury's not exalted in Aquarius, and I just took that so personally because I'm the
Oh.
only one that it's good. Like, and then they try to say too that if you're born with a natal Mercury retrograde, like, oh, you lied in a past life, so you get to be
Well,
punished in this life. I'm like the most honest person, almost too honest to where it gets me in trouble. So I just think it's funny, all the stigmas out there.
well, let me ask you this about the third house. I guess you both have siblings. Or do your siblings have the sign of the
Yup.
third house? Yeah,
My
mine too.
Both of them, actually. I'm not sure about my brother, but my sister is literally a Scorpio rising with Pluto in the first house, and I have a Scorpio third house with Pluto there. My other sister is a 29-degree Scorpio moon, and it's also her descendant. So uh, I definitely have had issues with the first sister that I mentioned, the Scorpio rising, where she's just like downright evil towards me. But I also have Nemesis and Narcissus in my third house, so that totally makes sense because that's exactly what my sister is. So I have a lot of trauma from her. My other sister is cool though; we get along and she's great, but my youngest sister, for whatever reason, we don't get along, and that's definitely showing up in my third house. I also had a very, very difficult school life. As a child, I was ripped out of school in the middle of the year of the third grade and moved across the world to Lebanon and went to so many different schools there. And looking back, school was actually very traumatic for me. So that's definitely all showing up in my third house.
Um, Me and my brother have the same sign. We're only in our third house in all our houses, and he has a Aquarius stellium in his third house.
My son has that. He's one, so I don't really know how it's manifesting yet, but he's like super talkative, especially for his age. So
How
I'm like,
sweet.
yep, that third house.
Yeah, my brother is a Libra rising also. So
I've
yeah,
also,
But my brother I don't have, like, that doesn't really make sense for my brother's side of things. Like, I don't really have any Aquarius placements.
yeah, but you have Aquarius there, so that kind of makes sense.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Well, also with my Pluto in the third house, I've had the most toxic neighbors, like where they get stalkery and like spy on us and they get all obsessed with us and watch our every move. Because my husband also has Pluto in the third house. It's just so literal. It's crazy.
It is literal.
So my dad had the third house in Virgo, and he had Pluto and Uranus in there. And he had a ninth house stellium. He was such a wealth of knowledge, and but he wouldn't really communicate. He had a hard time communicating those things to people.
It's the Pluto for sure. And I feel like
Mhm.
the Uranus would be even more so,
Yep.
especially afflicted too.
Yeah,
For
they were
me,
opposing his ninth house stellium.
mm, I haven't planets in the ninth house, but they're not making aspects to my third house. But I do have Sun square Pluto, and
Mhm.
I had so many issues with my dad too. So my son, and he was always trying to control me, and like, yeah, he was always like using his power in like not the greatest way. So it's been difficult, but I also went through like an ego death. So it's crazy how Pluto really kind of is the source of most of your problems, and then later in life turns into power. But
Love
the
that.
third house is, it's intense for me. So could say a lot about it, but I'll give you guys the chance to talk about your third house. It's more lighthearted than mine.
Well, did you know that this is coming from the Hellenistic perspective, that the third house is the joy of the moon.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
I heard that.
that is why I don't know, somehow that is why some of the attributes about writing um, come from the moon taking its joy there, because a lot of people, like if you find people who have the moon in the third house, I always ask them if they like writing or something like that, because often they do with moon in the third house. So,
Interesting. I,
yeah.
I did hear about that actually. And my relocation chart, my moon is in the third house.
Do you like
Uh,
writing?
I definitely like writing. I like communicating. I'm very good at expressing my emotions, but I also have moon trine, sun trine Jupiter. So I feel
Hmm.
like pretty good like at being outspoken. But I think due to the nature of Pluto, I feel it more than I do the moon in my relocation chart.
Hmm.
So,
I mean, I love listening to your lives. Um, you
well,
you
thank
do
you.
such a great job, like just I'm like, oh my gosh, you just can just answer everything that these people ask, and it's just like it's so good. And what you have, well, I mean, this is changing the subject a little bit, but you have, well, no, it's not. You have Cancer in the 11th house, right?
And
So that's
Chiron.
ruled by the moon. Um,
Yep.
I'm just
Yeah.
making some circuitous thing, but I don't know. I guess maybe it's just, somehow you have a way of just sounding like you care, and you're very not no nonsense as well, which is, I guess, the Pluto in the third house.
Yeah, I come off like super serious. Sometimes like I'll be joking, but I keep such a straight face and people think I'm so serious and they're just like like so taken back by what I said. But I've definitely gone
But
through my
that's Scorpio though.
yeah.
That is like Scorpio. People miss that Scorpios are so funny. Like,
You
do you
know, I don't even try to be funny. I just think I'm being
know?
so honest.
Do you know what's her name? Bethany, who was from Real Housewives?
Yeah, Bethany Frankel.
Sprinkle, she is I keep wanting to do some sort of post on her because she just cracks me up. She has a Scorpio stellium. She has I think it's Sun, Mercury conjunct Jupiter, and there might be Venus in there too. And she is just like she can just be deadpan, but it's so funny. That's what Scorpios are, and that's why I always crack up. So that Scorpio third house is probably really where that comes from for you.
Yeah, and I'm so unaware of it too, but, like, sometimes my husband will be watching me on the lives, and, like, he'll be sitting right next to me, and after I'm done, he's like, "I can't believe you said that with a straight face." I was like, "I don't even know, like, I'm not even trying to be funny." And I also think with Scorpio there, you kinda can be ruthlessly honest, so
Mhm.
sometimes it's not such a good thing, but, you know,
It's
it
the
works.
Mars, though, the Mars ruling Scorpio. That's why some people can't deal with Scorpios because it's just
Yeah, oh, it's
fight.
funny you mention it because my husband has Mars in Scorpio, conjunct Saturn, and Pluto all in his 3rd house in Scorpio.
Oh, wow.
He is such an intense communicator. Well, first of all, he's so loud, extremely communicative, like, he just never stops talking, and, he also, like, has this thing where he comes off so angry, like, he's just extremely angry, but he's actually not, he's totally fine. It's just the Mars. So it's like, he's a super intense communicator, definitely more than I am.
Yeah.
That's so funny too, because you guys are both Capricorn Mercuries, right?
Yes.
Mhm. Yep.
I love Mercury in Capricorn, probably because I have Venus in Capricorn, so I'm just always loving on Capricorn placements in general, but, they're just very, like, factual, and they're very straightforward, and I find them to very intelligent and, yeah, they're not really into, like, BS. They're human BS detectors too, which I love about Capricorn Mercury.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like it.
I just always wish I had that air Mercury that could just be a little snappier, you know?
That's true because I really do be thinking of my comebacks 2 to 3 business days later.
Right.
Well, I will tell you though, with air Mercuries, a lot of them have ADHD, including myself.
I
I have
have
Scorpio.
ADHD.
and no, but it's like so severe, like so severe with my Mercury and the ADHD. But I also have Mercury square Mars. Actually, I totally forgot. So when I'm pissed, like you'll know from my words.
People think I'm more mad than I am a lot of the times.
But
It's
that
the yo.
I was
It's
gonna
a
say,
Scorpio.
um, that could be Chase. Like, we both have air 3rd house, right?
Yeah.
So, I didn't even really make that connection. If
But
it's
yours is more like Libra, like, it's more like
Like,
you have a very, like, peaceful aura.
well, but she has Uranus there though. But you do
I
have
know, that just throws it off, but I think that's, like, your innovative thinking, you know?
you
No,
just
but
sound.
I was talking about the ADD thing is I think is a lot of
Oh.
air stuff.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I feel like too Uranus in the 3rd house or just any like malefic in the 3rd house, you could have like some mental health stuff.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah.
Not necessarily severe, but just
But I
something else.
have Mercury in the 6th house. That's definitely anxiety
Same,
and mind
same.
racing.
Yeah, I have a pretty active 3rd and 6th house, so I get it. And the anxiety, ADHD, all of them, pretty much experienced them all. So yeah. There's definitely downfalls to having an air Mercury. I feel like having an air 3rd house is very similar too, though,
Mhm.
to having an air Mercury. And just, the 3rd house in general gets overlooked, but it's such a key area of life if you think
Yeah, it
about it.
is. I
Yeah.
love some 3rd house synastry.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
Um, I also heard that sometimes when people have like their ascendant or whatever in your 3rd house, you can find them to be really annoying.
Mm,
So I don't know if that's true or
no,
not, but
my guy has his whole stellium in my 3rd house. He's
Oh.
fascinating at all.
do you guys talk a lot?
Yes. We talk and text a lot
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds good, like, I
all day
want
long.
that.
I think it'd be cool to like communicate telepathically, so where you don't even have
Oh,
to.
but we have that sometimes, but I want that to be like texting, like that clear, but like we sometimes have the thing where, we text at the same time, like it comes in at the same time or like even say the same thing or, something like that. Um, but yeah, like I mean, I don't know. I mean, I met him playing video games, so, but, so
I wonder what would cause that, like Neptune, you think, in the 3rd house or like Pisces? Or
what
would Neptune make you
the
delusional?
telepathic thing? Um,
Yeah, to where you communicate with people
well,
telepathic.
yeah, I mean, he has Neptune in his 3rd house, so, um
Yeah, I kind of figured that. I don't know why, which is why I brought up Neptune, but I was like, I feel like he has Neptune in his 3rd house.
Pluto, though, Pluto conjunct Mercury. I think the Pluto Mercury's, because Pluto, I feel like Pluto is very, like you said you don't have those placements, Mary, but you've got Pluto in the 3rd house. And I think Pluto, I mean, maybe it's not telepathic in the general sense, but I don't know. I do think Pluto is because it digs down deep. It's like on another level
Oh, yeah.
Oh
of
yeah,
looking at the,
It can torment your mind in the 3rd house. I've
because
definitely
you can pick up you can pick up so much with, like, it's Pluto and it's Scorpios. So
Yeah, I think I can. I definitely feel like I'm pretty good at knowing what other people are thinking or feeling with Pluto in the 3rd house. Um, Sometimes I don't wanna know and I feel like I know, and so
yeah.
it's hard with, like, boundaries and stuff, but
Hmm.
it can definitely, like, torment your mind, but it really does show you just how powerful your thoughts can be. And once you master that, I think you can really do anything because I really feel like you are creating everything from the way that you think.
Yes.
So, um, with Pluto there, you definitely see the darker side of that, but that's kind of how you transform the way that you think and the way that you communicate, like for the better. So, that's kind of been my journey with Pluto in the 3rd. But the 3rd house, especially if it's got major planets there, is going to be a key area of life for you. And it's also has a lot to do with manifesting because your thoughts and your words are vibrations, and we live in a vibrational world. So
Mhm.
it's like your what you say usually can manifest if you've mastered your 3rd house.
Yeah. And there's another not too talked about delineation for the 3rd house. I'm not even sure where I got this, so don't don't pin me down on it, but it's something about tribal energy. And
Hmm.
so you can kind of, I'm not sure exactly why it is. I have to look it up more, but you could probably even see people who have a big following. There is the 11th house element for that, but I think people who might have a lot of energy in the 3rd house could have that. And that might have to do with the way they're communicating with people, and it's the tribe being, how you're talking about your neighborhood and that kind of thing. So that would be another way that you would see people being attracted to someone, um, in the 3rd house is not sort of the traditional 11th house way, though.
My brother
Yeah.
has a lot of 11th and 3rd house placements, and he has people who will do anything for him.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, I've attracted a lot of Geminis. I wonder if it has anything to do with my 3rd house. Because I've married one and I always would date them for some reason. So maybe it's that Pluto.
Maybe. Wait, Gemini is I'm not thinking straight.
10th
Your
house.
It's my
11th,
midheaven, my midheaven.
your midheaven. Well, I mean, maybe it's just your midheaven.
I attract my midheaven a lot.
You
I
what?
do. I attract my midheaven sign.
I have Venus in Capricorn, so that could be why I attract Geminis actually, because it's my 10th house. A lot of people attract their midheaven because the midheaven is not just the career. I mean, it's also like the highest point of your chart, and it's like what you aspire to be and what you look up to. And I also read that it's where you find your most joy when you're
Hmm.
embodying your midheaven, which is so true because it's not until I started using my communication skills embodying my Gemini rising or Gemini midheaven that I finally found the career that I loved. So I agree.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's a good place to wrap it up. Follow us on TikTok. Mine is Sticks and Stones Astro. Mary's is AstroBabe89. And what is yours, Pierre?
Petra Zuri Astrology.
And we also have, well, I have the podcast on my YouTube, which is Sticks and Stones Astrology. I also have some content on there. I think, Pierre, you have content on YouTube as well.
I do. I'm gonna do more.
Okay. So be on the lookout for that. And join our Discord. It's called Saturn Sirens. And that's all. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.